I don't see it on my YouTube channel.
No, it's on there. I,
It's on
I
there?
see it. I see it.
Okay.
I'm gonna send it to the group now. Good evening, everybody. By the way, we're having a little difficulties this evening, so just bear with us for a minute.
So, yeah, I think it's going to be a short show, but we'll be able to talk for a few minutes anyway. Having trouble with Facebook and all that.
Yeah,
I don't know why, you know. So,
I
yeah.
don't know either. Let me mute that one. All right, just want to make sure it's up on the other group here. Give me a second. Yeah, we're gonna have a short show this week. Something with Facebook. We're having issues trying to connect it to it, so we're having to share it from the YouTube. So you're gonna have to kind of click on that, and then it'll pop it up to the show. So sorry, guys, it's just what it is. We'll get it figured out for next week.
It's beyond our control, but anyway, we can talk a little bit. We'll give it a few minutes, and actually, we only have couple of fishing reports because the weather last week was so windy that most of the captains didn't go out at all.
Yeah, it blew quite a bit here, and unfortunately, it's that east wind. And for us here up here in Crystal River, when an east wind blows and you get low tides, that tide does not come back in. So, yeah, it's not an easy day of fishing out there to go fishing. And I know there's a lot of my friends, other captains, who kind of rescheduled the ones that he could just because of that reason. So, trying to get better days.
Yeah, what I noticed around my house though, the last 2 days, it's been really calm in the morning. Like at 6:37, you say, "Oh man," and then at 8 o'clock or 8:15, if somebody hits the switch, and everything just goes bunkers.
It did.
And then the wind starts all day. But I think tomorrow is the day that's going to start winding down. It looks like Wednesday, much better. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday looks really good next at the end of the week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so. Yeah, it's definitely looking better. I've looked at some of the reports, and it's going to be better weather. It's just that pattern, that east wind, it just kills us, kills the tides and everything else that's going on. So let me see.
Even the bait has left the flats and taken off. People were complaining that the guys that are catching some around the bridges are getting a lot of thread fins, hardly no greenbacks, unless you go to the Skyway in my area, and then there's some there.
Yeah. Well, Donald found us on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, Donald's always on.
Yeah.
God bless his heart.
He found us over there, but yeah, unfortunately, it is what it is. So
yeah, we can only give it the best shot we got. And actually, I think we have something from Pam Worth today, and we have a fishing report from Tony Franklin. But like I said, I'm hoping. I'm hoping that we're on the turnaround now because it's about time, man.
It is. It's getting so tired of this March wind. I'm done with it. I want some normal weather patterns and some warming up. And because I mean, the water temperature, last week before the fronts, before the rain, before the wind came in, it was reaching about 78, 79. And then Sunday when I went out, and I heard reports earlier in the week when it was still blowing and earlier, it was dropping down to 68, 69. So that's a big temperature change overnight.
Wow. Yes. Yeah, and that does not help the fishing at all.
No, it doesn't. It's been a little rough, been a little tough, and a lot of the reports I heard that some guys were able to find some fish, others had a little difficulty. So it was a tough week. So that's just what it is. But Sunday when I was out, it was coming up at about 72, 73. So it's definitely on the rise here now. And hopefully we get back to a better pattern because just before this front came through, the fishing was really starting to turn on. It was pretty good.
Well, I got a chance to talk to the bait guy, and he definitely says he's going to have bait Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
Yeah.
So I hope it's true because I've got that big tournament on Friday, and then Thursday I got a charter and one on Saturday, and I got to get caught up. I'm so far behind because we keep canceling because of the weather.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I rescheduled a couple myself, so um, I just the fortunate thing is I've got clients who are able to reschedule, so we can get back out there and get it on a better day. So
But
it's a good thing.
you got people from up north that uh, are only here for a few days.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do with them.
No, and that's what happened with Sunday. They're just here for a short time, and I'm like, look, it's not the greatest in the world, but we can get out there and do it. And we found fish, but by the time we came in, it was in the morning it was just glass out there. It was just beautiful, and I had to go the long way around to my fishing spots, which is out Main River, Crystal River, and then cut across all in front to go down to the mangrove area. And it was just beautiful glass. It was gorgeous out there. And thankfully, the tide came in enough where I could get through the backwater because that wind with it, it was a little rough. So thankfully, I was able to get through the backcountry to get in a little bit. So it helped, but it was still blowing on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, every morning you think, oh my God, I didn't go out today because it's. I mean, in my house, it's almost just slick calm. I got a pond behind my house and all that, and the flag is still. But boy,
Yep.
like 8:15, bam,
Yeah,
there it is.
it did. It turned on, and it's those times I actually despise an east wind fishing. Mainly because for here, especially springtime, incoming tide for me at least tends to be the real good bite. And when you got an east wind pushing against an incoming tide that's moving west, things just they don't mesh enough. The tide slows down, bite slows down, everything else like that. So to me, I prefer either north wind, west wind, or south wind. I really don't like doing it in east wind, but you got to get out there and do it anyway.
Well, hey, you got to do the best you can, but the trouble is, if you get a lot of places to hide, but then for us, an east wind just drives the water out of the bay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, same thing here. It drives it off the flats, and you can get protected very easily by an east wind with all the mangroves, but if you don't have any water to get there, what's the point? And especially, I can say that for here, the trout, where we've had a good bite for a few weeks now out there on the flats, most of the trout have moved offshore a little bit. So they're kind of going toward their summer pattern. You'll still find a few here and there, but the big schools that we were hitting on quite often have started to move out. So you've got to go out a little bit, finding that 5-6 foot water to find the trout again. And then even then it's bigger water out there. There's a lot of area that you got to try to eliminate to find those trout. So
well, over here, the mango snapper bite last week, it was good for me. I got some redfish. I got some trout. Not a lot of trout, but we got some trout. We got snook, redfish, good bite on mango snapper. Started to see a few small tarpon in the canals. So that's a good indication.
yeah.
And I didn't go for mackerel because, quite honestly, the wind was blowing that I had to stay up tight against the mangroves,
Yeah. It's definitely there. So Donald, it looks like Tom showed up. Hey, Tom. Donald said he went on a free birthday trip 2 weeks ago. Landed 4 gags from 25 to 34 inches. Lots of mangoes, Spanish mackerel, and big hogfish. Where was that, Donald? That here locally, or did you go somewhere?
Yeah. And how old are you now, Donald? 29?
25 to 34 inches.
Yeah. No, I tell you what, he is involved in everything and he helps anybody. He always helps me. Anything that we're doing down here, he's always very helpful. Yeah, he's one of these guys that if he's around and you need him, he's there to help you.
Nice.
So, now I don't Let's see what Pam has to say, because she was fishing a tournament. So let's
Sure.
put Pam's little fishing report, since we don't have a long thing today.
Yeah, go for it.
Hey guys, here's what landed everything. My Fuego 3000 with a new experimental 10-pound braid coming out by Berkley, which I want to tell you was awesome. The rod I used was the Daiwa Kegel, sorry. And the lure was the Miralure MR11, and it's shiny silver. Get out there, guys. Man, check this out. I got a baby cobia. Whew, that's my first cobia of the season. Get him back in. My Daiwa rod, 2500 reel, 10-pound test. Oh, that's a nice Panama City trout. Yes, on a Miradon. Okay, my first fish of the day. Hello and welcome to the Southwest Florida Fishing Report. This is your kayak angler, Pam Worth. Started the week on the south end of Tampa Bay and found about 3 or 4 cobia. I was really surprised. Caught them, they're little, caught them on a pearl, fluke, or jerkbait made by Gulp on an owner's 4/0 twist lock hook. Had fun with them, let them go. I'm glad they weren't any bigger because I didn't have a gaff with me, so that worked out. Then headed out to Panama City and the Florida Redfish Tournament. Pre-fishing was tough, but I did land a few fish, all on spoons, and a new bait by Bass Pro called the Bio Bait, which did extremely well. Come tournament day, the water was a lot lower, so I had to go and look and use basically the Miralure MR11 in silver, because it just would kind of hover for me and not get into the grass. It worked out really well. I ended up probably catching 20 fish that day. It was so much fun. My 2 largest were 26 and a 26 and a quarter and a 25, which left me in 5th place. But I had a blast. Get out there, tight lines to everyone, and above all, have fun.
And thank you, Pam.
Thanks, Pam. Yeah, I like that.
And now she's working at Bass Pro Shop. You know that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's not at Tampa Fishing Outfitters anymore. She went
Okay.
to Bass Pro Shop to work. So
Okay.
that's where she's at now.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and I tell you what, she's a very hard fishing lady. That's
Oh,
all
no
I can
doubt.
say.
No doubt.
Yeah.
She's always got some good fish. I love that. I love the pattern on that redfish. I love it when I see redfish with a lot of spots. It's just one of my things. But I think it's because I did a lot of spots and slots tournaments up in Pensacola, and love those things. I love spots and slots tournaments. It kind of levels the field for everybody. You're not looking for the biggest fish. You're looking for as many spots as possible, and it can be quite fun, quite entertaining.
That's just, it used to be. Isn't the water up around Pensacola very clean?
Very clean, very clean. That
real clean.
Yeah, that water comes in and out of there so much and so fast, and it doesn't have just the Pensacola Pass, because you've got Orange Beach, then you've got Destin, Panama City area, and all that kind of floods that intercoastal area there. So you've got a lot of water coming right through there, mixing up, and that water out there on the beach and everything else is just so clean and beautiful, that emerald green color. And the beaches are so white. I mean, I thought the beaches were white here, down south. No, they have no comparison to up there. It's gorgeous. When you can look across, when you're on the beach or on the water, and you can look across the beach, and there's like this glow above all the condos and stuff like that above the beach. And that's just a reflection of the light from the sand and everything else. I mean, it kind of reminds you the old time Wizard of Oz, where you see the Emerald City, that little glow that they put around the
yeah.
That's exactly what it looks like.
The only thing wrong with that area, though,
huh?
man, they get a lot of hurricanes.
There's a lot of weather, unfortunately, that goes up there as well. Kind of one of the reasons why I left that area, just because there's a lot of wind. there's a lot of weather that feeds a lot of the East Coast. So numerous days you had to cancel charters because the wind or the weather just it would go for days upon days upon days. So it was kind of one of those business decisions going, look, I need to find more stable weather because it's difficult out here. And I fished it. I fished in some big boats, and it's brutal. It's tough on you when you're out there with 3 to 4 foot seas with chop. It's brutal, and it's just I was done. It was done, but it's a gorgeous area. It's just gorgeous.
John Rivers came from up in that area,
Yeah.
and he always said the water was extremely clean.
Yeah. Like I said, the funnest thing for me is one of my specialties is just kind of cruising the beach and looking for those big pods of bull reds, and then just hitting with top waters and whatever else you could throw at them. That was so much fun. I mean, just to cruise along, see a big pod, and just nail 3, 4, 5 of them off of there, and just make a day of it. It was great.
Well, I mean, where you're at Crystal River, the water gets pretty clean up there too.
Oh, it is, and I love this clear water up here. It's a little murky just around the mouth of the river and stuff like that, but there are plenty of places where it's just crystal clear, and it's a little more difficult for fishing if you're not used to it, especially. But it's thrilling because I love sight fishing, and you can see the fish. And you can cast to them. Your presentation just has to be a little lighter, a little cleaner. But it can be challenging, but it's very enjoyable. Very enjoyable.
Because we did a thing one time out of Mexico Beach just before that big hurricane came through and wiped out Mexico Beach.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were there in April, and the hurricane came through in September that year.
Yeah.
And I remember the water was so clean
Mm-hmm.
and everything. And that was supposed to be, April was supposed to be cobia month up there.
Right.
A lot of cobia, but there weren't any. I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't see any. So we wound up fishing the artificial reefs close to shore for big sheephead. And then we went offshore to a wreck and got into a whole bunch of amberjacks and red snapper
Right.
in this wreck. But
Yeah.
I remember how clean the water was. It was really nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is, and it's a joy to get into that clean water. In fact, my client said it on last week. She says, this water looks so clean. I just want to jump in. It's just that inviting, and it's kind of wonderful to be in a place that you have that clean water.
Yeah, let's go. Hey, hold on. Let's put Tony Franklin's fishing report in.
All right, Captain Tony Franklin back once again with this week's fishing report. We've had quite a windy week, been blown off the water most of the week. Towards Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, we were able to get on the water and run charters. It's been just quite windy, so we've had some conditions where it wasn't optimum. The water's been stirred up out in the bay, but we still managed to catch some fish this week, catching some trout. We also caught snook. We had a variety of Jack Crevalles. We got a few redfish. Good action with bonnethead sharks once again this week. We also got quite a few bonnetheads and black tip sharks. Also silver trout, spotted sea trout. So we've had good action, but the wind has slowed things down a little bit. We did catch some Spanish mackerel this week, but because of the high winds and the cloudy water, it's been a little bit slower for the mackerel. They've kind of dissipated a little bit this week, and but the forecast for the coming up next week is for wind not to be anywhere near like this. So look for the fishing to get better as the wind dies down and we get a little better tides. And this week in the mornings we've had minus tide, so the fishing should pick up. So get out on the water, catch some fish, tight lines. I'll see you next week.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
I'm
All
glad
right,
he got out. A
Yeah.
lot of the captains just a lot of them just they did other things.
Yeah, they did. They
It's a
did.
good time to get your honeydews done, or I don't think there's no hunting. Well, no, there is some hunting going on, because I did think Dylan was in Georgia doing some kind of hunting.
That I'm not sure.
What's open now?
That I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you. unless it's duck hunting, duck season or deer season. Up north, I have no clue because that's usually where I go hunt. So up in the Great White North. But yeah, got a question for you. What is because this is something that kind of came up, thought about it, and it happens quite often on charters because you get a lot of fishermen from around the country, and a lot of people do freshwater fishing and bass fishing and stuff like that. You've got J hooks and circle hooks. What do you prefer? I would say on your live bait, do you prefer the circle hooks or the J hooks?
I lost my mic again.
It's okay.
Okay, I can hear you now. Okay.
So circle hooks or J hooks for your live baiting. What do you prefer? And what are your, because this is some conversation I had with a client this past week, and they had difficulty with the circle hook. And they preferred J hooks. And there are sometimes that a client just, they don't get the fact of a circle hook and the full what you're supposed to do with a circle hook. So I end up putting either a jig head or a J hook on there for them for that specific reason. But what is your take on it?
Well, there's a thing. It depends on the brand of hook that you're using. Mm-hmm. I noticed that one company, a 1/0 hook, then you look at another company's 1/0 hook, one's bigger than the other.
Right.
And when I found out I've gone I used to use nothing but 1/0 circle. I wound up going to 2/0 circle for redfish and snook now because I lost so many snook. For years, I never had problems getting snook. I was using a J hook or a circle hook, but I noticed that the last batch of hooks that I got, and then I was looking at some of them in the tackle box, that 1/0 was just not quite big enough, that circle hook, I think. And I was losing where we would have the snook on and he start to run and he spit the hook. So I went up to 2/0. Mm-hmm. That kind of solved a big part of the problem. I honestly, I know we should use circle hooks, but in some cases, it depends on the individual. You almost got to use a J hook for them to be able to set the hook.
Right.
Because they're going to pull, especially if I had some bass fishermen a week ago. And oh my God, I thought they were going to bring up the teeth with the jaws. They were trying to set the hook so hard. I tell them, guys, those are little 14-inch mango snapper. These are little 20-inch redfish. Right. What are you trying to do? They lost a bunch of fish because they were just pulling so hard. But I really felt that when I went to 2/0 circle hooks now, my snook loss decreased by quite a bit. Yeah. Now, again, I've seen some other brands that are their 1/0 looks like a 2/0. Right. From some companies. And I guess you're going to have to look at the hook and really look at it good and say, hey, is that 1/0 hook going to be big enough? Should I go to a 2 with this particular company? Yeah. Yeah.
I find that I'm using in a certain brand, I'm using actually 4 or 5/0, using a little bit bigger type bait hooks for the different type of bait. So say a shrimp, if I'm using shrimp on circles, and especially in the wintertime, usually in the spring, summertime, I get away from shrimp only because, the pinfish, everything else is going to just destroy it before a fish gets to it. So for shrimp and stuff, I may use a 4. Now, if I'm changing over to live baits, pins, or cut bait or anything else like that, I'm jumping up to the 5/0. But it's difficult. What I find is it's difficult to teach people with a circle hook. And again, I believe more in circle hooks than I do J hooks, only because the hook does the work for itself. You don't have to set the hook. Basically, it's the pressure. And just trying to get them to understand that, when that fish takes, you don't do anything until you feel that either 2 things. Watching the line. If that line starts moving different from where it's at, or if you're feeling that pressure where that rod's coming out of your hand, then all you have to do is pull back and start reeling. And it's difficult for some people to do that, but yeah, the J hooks, I'm kind of getting away from all of them except for jigs, obviously. Just trying to get away, but I still keep a few just in case for some of those people who just they can't help themselves. It's just it's a trained reaction.
Right. Now, for cut bait, I'm using a lot of 2-aught and 3-aught Kahle hook, circle hooks.
Okay.
And those work really good. Because, I mean, a 3-aught Kahle, it's got a big wide gap on it.
Yeah.
You can put a nice chunk of meat on it and get a big snook and a big redfish. But I got to go look at the brand, but I think it was the Owners. I got a whole bunch of Owners 1-aught live bait hooks, circle hooks.
Mm-hmm.
And those things, they almost look like a number 1 circle hook.
Yeah.
But they called it a 1-aught live bait hook. But it was small.
Mm-hmm.
Where I look at some other 1-aughts, and they were probably 30, 40% bigger than this particular Owner live bait hook. So, I mean, you never know. I guess when you go buy hooks, you just got to look at it. And like you say, each area is different. Our area, 2-aught circle hooks, I mean, I've landed all kind of snook with them. And the reason I don't want to go too big is we got a lot of mango snapper. And you start putting 3-aught and 4-aught hooks, you're not going to get mango snapper. Unless they're real big.
Correct.
So, you know, I'm trying to get as many on the line as I can.
Yeah. No, I get it. And that's the one thing that I kind of pay attention to on circle hooks is between the shank of the hook, where then it circles, and where that tip is, and when it drops down, that gap between the shank and the end of that hook, that's what I pay attention to depending on what size bait I'm doing. Because if you've got a larger bait, chunk baits, ladyfish, you know, cut pins, whatever you're using, and you've got this small gap right there, you've got to think about that fish that you're catching and how big that mouth is that you want to get it on.
That's right.
That triple hook can't get to that corner and turn, then it's not going to be any use to you. So you've got to pay attention. To me, I pay attention to how big that gap is, and if it's a decent enough gap for what type of bait I'm throwing, that's the size I use. And again, I wish there was a standard for circle hooks between most of the companies, but
there's not.
You know, size wise, you know, there's shirts, you know, medium, large, extra large. We all know what they are, but for circle hooks, you definitely have to pay attention and kind of.
And that's what I found. Certain companies, if you can say this is what a 2-aught hook is, but you can go to 6 different companies, and that 2-aught hook could be all different sizes.
Yeah.
Some might look like a 1-aught, some might look like a 3-aught, compared to the one that looks like a, you know. So I just carry some 2-aughts and 3-aught circle hooks. I carry a few 1-aughts, and I do have about a little bottle with about 100 J hooks 1-aught. Because when I come across these people that I can't break them out of the habit, you know, it makes you look bad, because you got them sitting and here's 40 mango snappers sitting in the spot biting, and they can't bring one in because they're pulling so hard. So I just put a J hook on and say, here, go to it, you know, now pull, you know.
Yeah. No, I agree. And that's something that, you know, I kind of, like I said, talking to the client, you know, sometimes you have to change to what the client is used to and able to do. I mean, that's what being a professional is adapting not only to the fish, but adapting to your client to make sure they have a good day. But even Jim says he does octopus style 2-aught circle for most of the time, but 5-aught for cut bait or live mullet or croakers. So, and I can see that for live mullet, especially doing live finger mullet. You know, you want to have something that, depending on the size you're doing. Because I mean, you know, if I'm sitting there throwing a bunch of pinfish and they're 3 to 4 inch medium-sized pinfish, and I just happen to have some mud minnows in there, get caught in with the trap and everything else. Well, some of those mud minnows are smaller, so then I've got to change that up too and change the hook size to the bait. That's what makes
one of the things that we don't have here, maybe you have it in Crystal River. All I see is big mullet. I don't see finger mullet. Now I go down to Pine Island. I go to Boca Grande. There's finger mullets all over the place. You can throw the net sometime, 15, 20, nice, 4 or 5 inch finger mullet, which are great baits for those bigger snook and those redfish and stuff like that. But up here, I don't see any finger mullets. I don't.
No, and unfortunately, I mean, I've seen a few schools here and there, but for the most part, the mullet we have are large mullet. I mean, that's pretty much, you're fishing the mullet schools.
Yeah, but they got to start somewhere little.
They do.
I don't know where.
I have yet to figure out exactly where they are, because I'd love to get a few netfuls of them, because I grew up fishing mullet. I mean, that's pretty much our primary bait, is where we look for those finger mullet, and that's what we use for everything. And when I came here, I was expecting to do that again, and was kind of shocked and surprised that I cannot find the finger mullet. So that's why a lot of times we just get the mud minnows from the bait store, because it kind of reacts to that same thing. It's that type of smaller bait and slimmer bait, and you can pitch it in different areas. But I wish there was more finger mullet here than I've seen. And now we're seeing a little bit more white bait. So I think that's going to be the next key, is just dealing with the white bait.
Oh, Pam says she still can't find the live feed.
Yeah. Well, I put it on. It's on the group. It's on YouTube. You can't.
She sent me a text. It's what.
Yeah.
And just tell her that we're on YouTube. We had to go to YouTube. Yeah. So, but no. I'm hoping now this week, water temperature. I said 80 something degrees now. The air temperature. So if it holds steady, I think we don't have any more cold fronts. Hopefully, we'll start getting some decent weather. We need to get a little bit of rain.
Definitely.
Yeah.
They've turned the burn ban on us up here again.
Oh, yeah.
It was off for a couple of days, and I got rid of a lot of sticks hanging around the yard, but it's back up again for the burn ban. But yeah, we desperately need some rain. We'll probably end up just getting it under thunderstorms going to start, because if it starts warming up and the weather, wind stops blowing that drier air, then hopefully we'll get a lot more thunderstorms and maybe get our water back again.
What worries me in this area, we got all this ban on no watering, no this, but they're still giving permits to keep building homes.
Yeah.
Where's the water going to come from? I mean, you got a problem right now with water. You're going to let all these around where I'm at. They're looking at 3 or 4 subdivisions, another 3,000 or 4,000 homes. Where's all that water going to come from?
Yeah, well, like I said, the Withlacoochee River and Lake Rousseau and all that. I mean, they're just down. There's just no water in them. It's not good.
No.
And the springs are still pushing out, but that water comes from a lot of different places all the way up to Georgia. So the aquifers under there, but I have seen a lot of reports still from even Gainesville where they've got some sinkholes, and it's because that water table has dropped so much that sinkholes are starting again.
Lake Rousseau is looking. What do you say?
It's sad looking, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see the sad part. Okay.
Yeah, it's sad. We don't have enough water up here, and I'm sure it's all the way up the coast is where.
Well, I look at the golf course here, and the ponds are down. You can see it. They're down 4 feet, 5 feet from the edge of where they used to be. And some areas, some of these ponds it's nothing but a puddle in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, you got this big old mud hole with a little bit of water in the middle, and that's it.
Well, unfortunately, you know how nature does. Nature will balance itself out, and unfortunately, if it could come all at once at some point, which is not good either. But nature tends to balance itself out. I'm just hoping that it doesn't come with a big crop.
Yeah, a real big crowd. It really put a hurting on everybody.
Yeah, I've already been through a 100-year flood up in Pensacola. I don't want another one of those. That was I had less than 1 or 2 inches before it was coming into my house. I got lucky. And there was no coverage for that. We weren't in a floodplain, didn't have flood insurance, so thank goodness for that. But I had to get out and wade in waist deep water to move my truck off the driveway to put it on the road, and it was still up to the cab on my
man,
my house.
wow.
It was not fun, and that's what when you've been through one of those, you don't want to go through them again. They're not fun.
Well, they're saying that this year we're not going to be that bad on hurricanes.
Yeah, well, then I'd be worried. I would be worried because every time they predict something horrible, it really doesn't happen. Every once in a while, they're about 20 to 30% accuracy. So they're saying it won't be bad. I don't know about that.
It does make it a little scary.
I don't trust anybody who can still get paid the same amount of money and can't give you an honest report of what's happening.
Remember, all they got to do is say it's 10% chance of rain. It's going to rain somewhere. They're not wrong. I mean, let's think about it. So you got 70 and this guy got 10.
Yeah.
They're covered.
Right? Yeah.
Well, folks, as you could tell that we ran really short today because we had some difficulty trying to get on Facebook. We had to go just straight through YouTube and everything else. But and we didn't get but 2 fishing reports because a lot of the captains just did not go out because of the wind and the weather. So hopefully next week you're going to be sending us what's going on and where you're going to be next week.
So I'll be doing the report up in Minnesota because I'm going to actually go into Canada over this weekend. I've got a show up there to do with Safari Club International. So I'll be up there for a couple of days and then be back in Minneapolis on Monday. So I'll be doing the show from there.
All right.
Let you know what's happening.
Okay. So everybody, thanks for tuning in. I'm sorry that we got on the air late, but it was out of our control. And hopefully next week things are going to be better and we get it all resolved. And God bless. Have a good time this week. Tight lines. Catch a lot of fish, will you?
Thank you, everybody.
Take care.